We cannot have a society in which some dictator someplace can start imposing censorship here in the United States. Because if somebody is able to intimidate folks out of releasing a satirical movie, imagine what they start doing when they see a documentary that they don't like, or news reports that they don't like. Or even worse, imagine if producers and distributors and others start engaging in self-censorship because they don't want to offend the sensibilities of somebody whose sensibilities probably need to be offended. So that's not who we are. That's not what America is about. Again. I'm sympathetic that Sony as a private company was worried about liabilities, and this and that and the other. I wish they had spoken to me first. I would have told them. Do not get into a pattern in which you're intimidated by these kinds of criminal attacks. Imagine if, instead of it being a cyber threat, somebody had broken into their offices and destroyed a bunch of computers and stolen disks. Is that what it takes for suddenly you to pull the plug on something? So we'll engage with not just the film industry, but the news industry and the private sector around these issues. We already have. We will continue to do so. But I think all of us have to anticipate occasionally there are going to be breaches like this. They're going to be costly. They're going to be serious. We take them with the utmost seriousness. But we can't start changing our patterns of behavior any more than we stop going to a football. Game because there might be the possibility of a terrorist attack. Any more than Boston didn't run its marathon this year because of the possibility that somebody might try to cause harm. So let's not get into that way of doing business. Question: can you just say what the response would be to this attack? While you consider taking some sort of symbolic step like watching the movie yourself or doing some sort of screening here that President Obama, I've got a long list of movies I'm going to be watching. Question: will this be one of them? President Obama, I never release my full movie list. But let's talk of the specifics of what we now know. The FBI announced today, and we can confirm, that North Korea engaged in this attack. I think it says something interesting about North Korea that they decided to have the state mountain. All-out assault on a movie studio because of a satirical movie starring Seth Rogen and James Flacco Franco. I love Seth and I love James, but the notion that that was a threat to them. I think gives you some sense of the kind of regime we're talking about here. They caused a lot of damage, and we will respond. We will respond proportionally, and will respond in a place and time and manner that we choose. It's not something that I will announce here today at a press conference. More broadly, though, this points to the need for us to work with the international community to start setting up some very clear rules of the road in terms of how the internet and cyber operates. Right now, it's sort of the Wild West. And part of the problem is you've got weak states that can engage in these kinds of attacks, you've got non-state actors that can do enormous damage. That's part of what makes this issue of cybersecurity so urgent. Again, this is part of the reason why it's going to be so important for Congress to work. With us and get an actual bill passed that allows for the kind of information sharing we need. Because if we don't put in place the kind of architecture that can prevent these attacks from taking place, this is not just going to be affecting movies. This is going to be affecting our entire economy in ways that are extraordinarily significant. And, by the way, I hear you're moving to Europe. Where are you going to be? Question, Brussels. President Obama, Brussels. Question, yes. Helping Politico start a new publication. President Obama, well, congratulations. Question, I've been covering you since the beginning. President Obama, well, I think. Question, it's been a long road for the both of us. President Obama, I think there's no doubt that what Belgium needs is a version of Politico. Question, I'll take that as an endorsement. President Obama, the waffles are delicious there, by the way. Cheryl Bolin. You've been naughty. Cheryl, go ahead. Question, thank you, Mr. President. Looking ahead to your work with Congress next year. You've mentioned as an area of possible compromise tax reform. And so I am wondering, do you see a Republican Congress as presenting a better opportunity for actually getting tax reform next year? Will you be putting out a new proposal? Are you willing to consider both individual and corporate side of the tax ledger there? And also, are you still concerned about corporate inversions? President Obama, I think an all-Democratic Congress would have provided an even better opportunity for tax reform. But I think, talking to Speaker Boehner and Leader McConnell, that they are serious about wanting to get some things done. The tax area is one area where we can get things done. And I think in the coming weeks leading up to the State of Union, there will be some conversations at the staff levels about what principles each side are looking at. I can tell you broadly what I'd like to see. I'd like to see more simplicity in the system. I'd like to see more fairness in the system. With respect to the corporate tax reform issue, we know that there are companies that are paying the full freight. %35 higher than just about any other company on earth, if you're paying 35%. And then there are other companies that are paying zero because they've got better accountants or lawyers. That's not fair. There are companies that are parking money outside the country because of tax avoidance. We think that it's important that everybody pays something if. In fact, they are effectively headquartered in the United States. In terms of corporate inversion, those are situations where companies really are headquartered here but on paper, switch their headquarters to see if they can avoid paying their fair share of taxes. I think that needs to be fixed. So, fairness, everybody paying their fair share. Everybody taking responsibility I think is going to be very important. Some of those principles I've heard Republicans say they share. How we do that, the devil is in the details. And I'll be interested in seeing what they want to move forward. I'm going to make sure that we put forward some pretty specific proposals building on what we've already put forward. One other element of this that I think is important is, and I've been on this hobby horse now for 6 years. Audience member sneezes. Bless you. We've got a lot of infrastructure we've got. To rebuild in this country if we're going to be competitive: roads, bridges, ports, airports, electrical grids, water systems, sewage systems. We are way behind. And early on we indicated that there is a way of us potentially doing corporate tax reform. Lowering rates, eliminating loopholes so everybody is paying their fair share. And during that transition also providing a mechanism where we can get some infrastructure built. I'd like to see us work on that issue as well. Historically, obviously, infrastructure has not been a Democratic or a Republican issue. and I'd like to see if we can return to that tradition. Julie Pace. Question, thank you, Mr. President. I wanted to ask about Cuba. What would you say to dissidents or democracy advocates inside Cuba who fear that the policy changes you announced? This week could give the Castro regime economic benefits without having to address human rights or their political system. When your administration was lifting sanctions on Myanmar, you sought commitments of reform. Why not do the same with Cuba? And if I could just follow up on North Korea. Do you have any indication that North Korea was acting in conjunction with another country, perhaps China? President Obama, we've got no indication that North Korea was acting in conjunction with another country. With respect to Cuba, we are glad that the Cuban government have released slightly over 50 dissidents. That they are going to be allowing the International Committee of the Red Cross and the United Nations human rights agencies to operate more freely inside of Cuba and monitor what is taking place. I share the concerns of dissidents there and human rights. Activists that this is still a regime that represses its people. And as I said when I made the announcement, I don't anticipate overnight changes. But what I know deep in my bones is that if you've done the same thing for 50 years and nothing has changed, you should try something different if you want a different outcome.